Hello and welcome back to Jehan's Baithak. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be talking about the F2 race weekend in Azerbaijan. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant. A pretty decent weekend in Azerbaijan for Jehan Darula. Um, a little bit disappointing on Saturday. That race win could have been his, but we know that race starts in Azerbaijan are not as straightforward as they seem to be. And he did end up making that mistake on the second restart, unfortunately, and then conceding the place to Frederick Vesti. But a fourth place in the feature race and a second place finish in the sprint race, and he did cut his deficit a little bit to Felipe Dragovic, but quite majorly to Theo
Theo.
Pocher. He's only 10 points behind Theo Pocher now. However, he's 59 points behind Felipe Dragovic in a season that is almost halfway there.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I think there's still one or two more races to go for the halfway mark. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, Jehan. I mean, he has been one of the most consistent drivers in Formula Two this season. Yes, Felipe Drogovic is leading the championship by miles, and he has more wins than anybody else. But he has also struggled in quite a few races, and MP Motorsport have struggled in quite a few races. I think it was Monaco where, or somewhere else where they put on, you know, wet
Monaco, yeah.
tires for the
That was
dry race or
in
something
Monaco,
like
yeah.
that, right? Yeah. So I think really Prema and Jehan doing great job. And Prema I say because Dennis Hogger now finally, after a slow start to the season, he's finally in. He's not in the title mix, but he is back on form. The form that we saw in 20, the form that we saw last year in F3, where he absolutely dominated the field. But yeah, he's competitive now. He wins. He won the feature race uh, this weekend after a lot of attrition up ahead of him. But then again, if I mean to finish first, you have to finish right, and Dennis Hogger and Prema are finishing. So yeah,
Yeah. One thing that Jehan and I guess Dennis is doing a little bit better in regards to qualifying, but that is one place where Jehan is still struggling. Obviously, there's a lot of variables with qualifying, especially in F2. When you get out, how much traffic there is, what happens with the yellow flags, red flags, people crashing out and things like that. But that just goes to show that the first lap, every lap you do, you have to make it count. It has to be you have to be the fastest one out there on every lap. There isn't really a concept of a banker lap
yeah,
and a second lap in F2, given that there's so much action in during the qualifying sessions.
yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think in Formula Two for the 30 minutes, you get some three fast laps in qualifying, and if, three fast laps in qualifying if you are going,
Lucky, yeah.
yeah, in a full 30-minute session with some time to configure your setup or something like that. But yeah, I mean Jehan has qualified in the top 10 for almost every race except for the first two races where they had some technical mechanical issue. But if qualifying in the top 8 gives him a good position for the sprint race, and he has performed well in the sprint races. But I think qualifying well in the top 5 is more important, so that you have a good position for the feature race.
Absolutely, and we've seen that he's got good race pace,
Oh, brilliant.
especially in the sprint.
Brilliant race
And some of
pace.
the moves he makes is absolutely astonishing.
I
But
mean, he
he really needs to
races
qualify higher.
he races too good in the sprint, and even in the feature races, since he's in that P7 to P12 slot, he has the alternate strategy with him, and he races well with that too, and scores some points. But definitely qualifying is still the biggest issue with
Yep,
Jehan's
I
season.
think one thing that we haven't touched upon yet about Jehan's performance this season, obviously we've been looking at the bigger picture, and that is Jehan winning the championship hopefully. But he is the best performer amongst
Yeah,
all Red Bull teammates.
absolutely.
And I think there are five of them. So we have Ayumu Iwasa, Jehan Darubla, Dennis Hogger, Liam Lawson, and Yuri Vips. And by far, Jehan has been the most consistent and has the most points.
Yeah,
He might not have a race win, but like a feature race win, but he definitely, he has proved himself, in my opinion. And if we consider this is going into my next point, and if we consider the people who have joined the F1 grid over the last couple of years, that is to say Zhou Guanyu and Nicholas Latifi and the sorts. Obviously not Lando Norris and George Russell. Looking at that, I wouldn't be surprised if Jehan was offered a chance. It's a long shot. There's a lot of other things going around, but based on simply performance, even Yuki Tsunoda was like fourth or fifth in the championship at the end of the season.
yeah,
He was just a big name because of the hype surrounding him and how fast he had moved up the ladder. But I think Jehan is doing enough, and if he continues to do this, there might be some talk. Obviously, the Red Bull team in F1 is full. Red Bull and AlphaTauri is what I'm referring to, but we don't know what's going to happen with Pierre Gasly. It doesn't seem Yuki Tsunoda is going anywhere, but if Pierre Gasly were to move this year, and if they had to fill a spot in the AlphaTauri team, I would be surprised if they didn't go with Jehan if this is how the season pans out.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, finishing top three in, well, top three, I think it's a long shot. Although Alex Albon, George Russell, and Lando Norris were the top three that season, and they all graduated to Formula One. But finishing top two in Formula Two is in itself a great achievement, right? And it like finishing top two proves that you are capable of moving on to the next ladder, which is Formula One. So I think if Jehan catches Theo Pocher and passes Theo Pocher in the standings and catches Drogovic, even if I mean, touch wood, it does not happen, he wins the championship, but even if he stays 10-15 points behind Filipe Drogovic, but he catches him and shows his mettle, I think it is going to be a great year in the CV of Jehan Daruwala. Currently, though, I think Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson are still higher up in the Red Bull hierarchy, Red Bull Academy hierarchy, because Jehan has not yet received a F1 test or practice session.
That is true.
Right.
Yeah.
So Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson. I think Yuri Vips is the top one. Liam Lawson is second, and then it's Jehan. But yeah, there's still more than half the season to go, and a lot of chances.
Yeah, but then this also points to another problem, which is that Felipe Dragovic will most likely, not be graduating to F1 even if he wins this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and if Oscar Piastri couldn't graduate when he had a constructor's backing, I don't think Felipe Drogovic can, because he has no backing at all.
So it's not really looking great for the graduating class of Formula 2 this year.
And I mean,
to put it that way,
after winning Formula 2, you can't ever race in a junior series. So Felipe will need to find, I think, IndyCar or Formula E. But I think for Felipe Drogovic, IndyCar would be a much better option than Formula E. It will be close to home, and the way he drives, I think it's going to be fun.
it'll be great to have you in Jehan in IndyCar.
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
stateside and to watch him race.
I mean, I was just thinking, and maybe we'll talk about this in the IndyCar podcast, but Red Bull can move to sponsor a team in IndyCar. Or sponsor a driver in IndyCar.
That is quite true. That is quite true. I'm surprised that they haven't done it yet. But Yuri Vips winning the race pretty late on, and just winning that race win like we talked about and giving it to Dennis Hauger, his Red Bull Academy teammate. Yuri Vips has had a very up and down season, so not really surprised about that. He seemed more disappointed in himself than anyone probably is or was after the race. But like you have to pull it together. And I think someone posted the Charles meme of "I am stupid."
Yeah, I mean, I think I only posted
Did
that.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we only posted that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but like you're posting and then like
Yeah.
it just comes on my timeline. I'm not checking who's posting, and I'm just like looking at what's on the timeline.
Yeah.
But I see what happened there. What happened there. But yeah, that's really all from my side. Vedant, anything else that you would like to mention before we close out this podcast? It was a happening weekend, but it just didn't seem that there were like a lot of stories to talk about. Richard Bushore had a decent weekend again. Decent feature race finish. Theo Pocher not getting as many points, like I said before, but Felipe Drugovich just maintaining his lead on on the field
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah. I mean, is this thing, as you said, Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson being disappointed in themselves, because the thing is, they know how good they are, and they know that if they want a shot in Formula One, they can have it. They can really have it, you know. But if they keep making those mistakes, I mean, Yuri Vips was comfortably in the lead at when he crashed. Yes, Dennis Hogger was behind him, but he was in the lead and he was a couple of seconds ahead. So that crash, that Charles Leclerc crash, was really out of character for Yuri Vips. But I think, you know, they both of them have had tricky couple of seasons, and still they are in the books of Red Bull Academy, which means
I
that
mean, obviously Liam Lawson has done more, previously, like last year's DTM
yeah,
season, and then even this year, like he lost out to one race win. Obviously, Yuri Vips lost out to this race win, and then Liam Lawson lost out a race win early in the season. I think it was race two, feature race where his tires didn't go on in the pit stop.
yeah,
His tires came
yeah,
off,
yeah,
something like that. So yeah, it's not just their fault, but yeah, the
yeah,
teams need to put it together. Just like Prema, early
yeah,
in the season they didn't have it together, and
yeah,
now they're hopefully getting there. Which reminds me, man, one other thing before we close this out. Cem Bolokbasi just cannot have a race without an accident, can he?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing about racing in the lower midfield of Formula 2. Anything and everything will happen to you. And talking about the lower midfield, I mean, just look at Ralph Boschung. He was having a miserable weekend, but feature race he starts P12 after after penalties from qualifying, and finishes. No, sorry, he starts P20 or something, and finishes P9 in the feature race.
Yeah.
So that lower midfield pack in Formula 2 is absolutely, I don't even have the word for it.
Yeah, it's like a roll of dice.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, Vedant, for talking about F2 with me. Obviously, we will be covering all the F2 races this season. Especially keep an eye on Jehan Daruvra as he tries to mount a title challenge. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.